Hey there, future podcaster. I am so excited for you. If you have already started your show, this episode, skip ahead. If you are ready to start your show, you have landed in the right spot. So you've decided you're going to be a podcaster. Now what? Well, let's do it. Welcome to the podcast about podcasting, where you guessed it, we're talking all things podcasting. Whether you are just ready to launch your show, or maybe you're a seasoned podcaster ready to grow and monetize, this podcast is for you. We are talking about the strategy, but beyond that, the mindset it takes to grow a massively successful podcast in this day and age. So if you are ready to take your podcast to the next level and make big bucks, you've come to the right place. I'm your host, Jen Dragonette, so let's dig in. All right, so you have made the commitment. You have made the statement. You have declared, I am going to be a podcaster. Now what? Well, first, I want to make sure that your show is something that you actually want to do, 1. 2, something that you're passionate about, and 3, that someone is going to listen to it. And mind you, there are a lot of people that will listen to the most random things, so your idea is probably valid. But I want you to look around and look for other people that are talking about the same thing you're talking about. Because let's be honest, most of the time we are not original. We have our original spin and our original take, and that's why podcasting is so beautiful, is that I can teach podcasting, my friend Adam can teach podcasting, Jamie can teach podcasting, Angie can teach podcasting, yet you're going to take everything a little bit differently from everyone else because not everyone can share with you in a way that feels good. So you got to find that right person. But now that you've decided, I'm going to be a podcaster, what do you do? First and foremost, I want you to play the naming game. The naming game is coming up with the name for your podcast because that name, again, in podcasting, you can change it, but that name is going to help people find your show. Unless you want to be a slave to social media, a slave to your email list, a slave to finding people, you want to utilize SEO. You want to utilize that search engine, those search capabilities, right? So, I wanted to originally name this show the Jennifer Dragonette Show. Well, who the heck cares that it's the Jennifer Dragonette Show? So I did not call it that. I called it the podcast about podcasting because what are people searching for? How to start a podcast, all of these other things. And if you noticed in this title, it's not just the podcast about podcasting. There is the long tail that goes with it. I want you to really think about that because as we're setting up your podcast in the first stages, you need to remember that your show title and your show description are 2 of the 3 places that are searchable. I'm going to say that again. 2 of the 3 places. When people are searching either Google or podcast platforms, they are only able to search. The only things that come up is your show name, your show description, and your episode titles at this time. That does not leave you a lot of room, right? So you need to really think about positioning your podcast to show up in those searches. So if you want to do the Jen Dragonette Show, you better put a long tail after it, the Jen Dragonette Show, where you can launch a podcast, grow a podcast, monetize a podcast. You see what I'm saying? So things that people are searching for. The same when you're writing your show description. Don't get creative. We are all creative beings or we wouldn't be entrepreneurs. We wouldn't want to be starting this. But this is the time I'm going to say, pull back on your creativity. If you need to, and you're on a budget, go to Fiverr even, and have somebody search out some SEO keywords for you and create your title and your description based off of those keywords. End of story. And I know this sounds harsh and I know this sounds crazy, but this is so important because if you are here, you're likely sick of being on social media. You're sick of having your content only last for 24 hours if you're lucky. You're sick of going live all the time and then those being irrelevant. Maybe you're on YouTube and it's still relevant, but if you're on social media and that is your main jam of getting new clients and new customers, you become irrelevant so fast. Podcasting, my episode from over 2 years ago on my other podcast is still getting downloads 2 years later. It's magical. So you need to think about that when it comes to titling things. Again, I know we all want to be creative and have all these things. Save that for social media. Save that for your description. Save that for your artwork. What I want you to do is really think about searchability. Because if you are not cashing in on the searchability aspect of having a podcast, you are a slave to socials and to driving the traffic to your show manually, by yourself, with extra effort. Unless you're using paid ad strategies, that is. But still, even if you're using paid ad strategies, would you want to see a paid ad for the Jennifer Dragonette show if you were looking to start or grow a podcast? Or would you like to see a podcast that's about podcasting? I'm going to tell you, it's going to be more likely that you're going to click on the show of the podcast about podcasting than you are the Jennifer Dragonette show, even though it's the same content, right? So really think about setting this up. I also want you to have a core topic. So that main topic for your show. This one is about podcasting, but there's so many sub-levels of that. I want you to think about all of those things. Write down all the ideas. And again, this is a great time for you to start researching. Go into research mode. Okay, so my podcast is about podcasting. All right, what are the things that people need to know about podcasting? They need to know the tech. They need to know how to launch. They need to know how to grow. They need to know how to find audiences. They need to know different ways to monetize. They need to find ways that they can delegate tasks with, a person like me with a podcast management service. There are so many different ways and strategies, but it's all under the umbrella of podcasting. But that's not what I want you to think about when you're really, really thinking about your whole show. I want you to be broad, but not so broad because you want to not include people. And I know that sounds crazy, but the more niche you get, the better. Like, I wanted to do a business only. Originally, this podcast was going to be the Perfectly Imperfect Entrepreneur because I wanted to talk all things business. But you know what that did? It muddied the water. And we don't want muddy water. So with that core topic, make sure it's something that is not so broad like entrepreneurship, which you can do and still have a successful show. But the more you niche down to something specifically that you love to talk about, if you love to talk about Instagram strategy, do it. If you love to talk about business mindset, do it. If you like to talk about underwater basket weaving, do it. If you are a spiritual entrepreneur and you want to talk about energetic healings and whatever it is you want to talk about, do it. But don't think you have to talk to everyone. Because if you talk to everyone, you talk to no one. So those are some of the main things. I want you to, right now that you've decided, I want you to think about that show title and that show description and how you can use your topic to create a searchable title and a searchable description. And if you need help with this, of course, you can jump over to my Instagram at j.dragonette, or you can email me at jen@jdragonette.com, and I'd be happy to help you because this is my jam. I love helping people stop being a slave to social media and start enjoying the freedom of podcasting. That is what I truly love. So go out and make today amazing. Do the homework. Again, your show title, your show description, and your core topics. That's your homework for today. You got it? You accept it? I want to see it. Tag me over on Instagram. Send me an email. I want to cheer you on and be with you in this process. So go out and do the thing.